So in this video, I want to talk about how do you know you're progressing instead of just staying stagnant in the same level for a long time. And I also want to draw inspirations and some examples from my personal story because I've recently been learning French. I think for the past about 2 months, I've been focusing on improving my French, and I can say for myself that I've improved a lot and want to share with you some signs that I see that makes me sure that I have improved. Sign number 1, you no longer need to do mental translation. So when you're about to say something in the target language, you no longer have to think about how do you say it in your native language and then translate it to the target language, because this kind of translation method, it's not really a method that I endorse, but a lot of people still do it as well. But it's very normal, it's very common for people to do it because it's just the natural thing to do. Let's say translating it from your native language to your target language. So once you get to a point where you no longer need to translate it, that's when you know, hey, I have improved. So you're actually at a level where you can be quite functional in the target language. Sign number 2, you can watch videos, be it movies, YouTube videos, or TV series, using subtitles in the target language or no subtitles at all. So once you're at a level where you don't use your native languages anymore, be it Indonesian or English, and instead you're using the target language for you to understand the content of the movie or TV series, that's when you know that, hey, my English or my French is actually good enough for me to understand movies native to that language. That's when you know you've also progressed. For me, for instance, for about 2 or 3 months ago, I was at a level where I was completely uncomfortable only watching movies in French subtitles because I think at the time my vocabulary wasn't maybe vast enough. I wasn't really familiar with a lot of colloquial or slang in French. But now, fast forward 2 months later, I am at a level where I can watch TV series, like simple TV series in French, and I can understand it. So I already know a lot of slang and relevant words that I need to understand everyday French. So that's when I know I have progressed. When I no longer need subtitles in English or in Indonesian to understand French content. Sign number 3, you no longer feel too self-conscious about how you sound when you speak the language. So in other words, you have more confidence when you're speaking this language. So remember that confidence comes with a lot of practice and repetition. So once you have reached a point when you feel confident about yourself, that means that you've done enough repetition, enough practice for you to get to that level. I mean, to get comfortable to that level when you feel completely comfortable speaking in that language, let's say to other people, by yourself, or even recording yourself. So for me, once I feel quite proud of myself speaking in that language, that's when I know, like, hey, I've got this confidence. You know, of course, confidence is very dependent on who you're with. Sometimes, let's say, with people who are much better at French than you are, you feel a little bit more self-conscious. And other times when I'm with people whose French are not great, then I feel a lot more confident. Of course, that's all relative. But the most important indication is that when I'm talking to myself in French and then I like how I sound and I don't cringe at my own accent, that's when I know I have progressed, because it really shows that I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with myself when I speak that language, and that's very important. Sign number 4, you find yourself thinking in that language or even saying certain phrases or expressions in that language instead of your target language. Okay, so maybe this sign isn't really for everyone. Maybe this is a little bit more relevant to people who tend to talk to themselves, like me. So when I'm alone, I often speak with myself. It's like I'm having dialogues with myself. And when I suddenly realize that I'm saying certain expressions in my target language instead of my native language, that's when I know that French, the target language, is becoming more dominant in my head than, let's say, my native language, at least at that point. So because the past 6 weeks, I have gotten a lot of French input from native speakers around me, from books, from TV series, the French in my head has gotten so dominant that sometimes it just comes out automatically. And that's when I know that I've progressed. You know, it's kind of like my English is a little suppressed and my French is quite more dominant, and then French words come out automatically. That's when I know, hey, that's nice, you know, I've progressed. I have really strengthened the French in my head. Sometimes I even find myself expressing some things or some emotions in French, you know, kind of like I used to say, oh, really? Now I find myself saying out loud, ah bon? You know, so I thought like, oh, this is some progress. You know, like my French has really gotten stronger. So that's sign number 4. Sign number 5, you are starting to express certain phrases differently. Or in other words, synonyms. You're starting to use more synonyms in your target language. So for instance, as a beginner, let's say if you were to learn English, as a beginner, when you want to express that you do not like something, you simply say, nah, I don't like it. And then for an extended period of time, because you are just so comfortable with saying, nah, I don't like it, you keep on saying that. But you know you've progressed a lot once you have found different ways to express that phrase. So instead of just saying, nah, I don't like it, you say, I'm not a big fan. It's not really my thing. Nah, that's not really for me. So of course, a lot of these kind of synonyms you've probably gotten a lot of tips from YouTubers, let's say like me, or some TikTokers that gives you like 10 ways to say I don't like this in English. But then there's a difference between just seeing it from some content and actually using it in your real life. So once you find yourself saying things, all of these synonyms, different ways of expressing the same thing in your real life, that's when you know that you have progressed. So in my experience, I used to say je ne veux pas, to say I don't want it. But now I have kind of alternated between j'ai pas envie or j'ai pas la tête. So when I find myself using these different phrases to express one certain thing, that's when I know that I have really progressed on my levels. And the last sign to know that you're progress, you are now able to distinguish separate words when native speakers speak. So when we are still beginners, or like let's say upper beginners or lower intermediate, whenever you are given content of native speakers saying things in full speed, they all just sound like long pieces of words that you just can't really understand exactly what they're saying, you know. But once you are at a level where you don't really feel overwhelmed, you know exactly what they say, you know the separate words that they are saying, these native speakers, and they don't sound like just random words all jumbled up together, that's when you know you've progressed. That's when you know you're kind of at the level where you can listen like native speakers. So yes, that's the last sign. So guys, I hope this video helped you. I hope this video kind of gave you this jolt of motivation, thinking like, hey, I'm actually doing pretty well in my languages. So yeah, that's just that. So I hope you like this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up for the algorithm. And as usual, I will see you next week in another video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.